In that era, there weren't any fancy martial arts secrets, just hardcore kung fu that's close to our lives. That's because the Song dynasty, from 960 to 1279 years, was a significant period in Chinese history. The Song government prioritized culture and education, respecting scholars and somewhat neglecting military power. They had a civil service exam system to select officials based on test scores rather than family background or kung fu, which gave scholars significant political influence. During those times when corrupt officials and schemers were in power, Lu Zhishen, a former military officer, became a monk after a murder incident. However, he kept breaking the monastic rules. In a drunken rage, Buddhist brothers angered him and got into a violent brawl. So Master Zhishen recommended he move elsewhere. Lu Zhishen passed by a shop and asked for directions to the temple. Following the instructions, he eventually arrived at the temple. The guest monk, who handles visitors, greeted him. Seeing Lu Zhishen's imposing appearance, carrying an iron staff, a knife at his waist, and a big bag on his shoulder, they felt uneasy and scared, thinking he didn't look like a typical monk. Elder Jiqing, the head monk of the temple, was considering whether to accept Lu Zhishen. He was worried if Lu Zhishen could truly change his ways, but also felt obliged to honor Master Zhishen's recommendation. In the end, they decided to assign Lu Zhishen to manage the vegetable garden outside the Xuanzao Gate, which was often troubled by hooligans, and where the old monk in charge was at his wit's end. The guest monk was instructed to inform Lu Zhishen about this arrangement after he had his vegetarian meal. Lu Zhishen wasn't too happy with the initial job assignment. He was hoping for a higher position like overseeing the temple affairs, but was told he'd start by managing the vegetable garden. Despite his confusion, Lu Zhishen didn't dwell on it too much. He understood the hierarchy within the monastic community and decided to accept reality and do his best as the garden manager. He had a laid-back attitude, indicating he didn't care about the rank as long as he wasn't looked down upon. When he asked when to start, he was told it would be the day after tomorrow. After the continuous hustle and hard run for life, he could finally settle down, so he planned to rest well until then. Word got around that Lu Zhishen, the newcomer, had come from Wanshu Monastery on Mount Wutai, sparking quite a bit of chatter. People wondered why they needed a new guy when the old monk was managing things so well. Apparently, the vegetable garden was frequently targeted by thieves. Some folks questioned whether Lu Zhishen could really handle the problem. Meanwhile, the thieves were whispering among themselves, worried that his arrival might threaten their livelihood. They planned to give him a hard time right from the start, even plotting to throw him into a manure pit to teach him a lesson. These thieves had some pretty nasty ideas, and it was clear they were up to no good. We'll see if their scheme works out. Lu Zhishen, our hero, started his job and asked about the temple rules, particularly the restrictions on alcohol. His main duty was to look after the vegetable garden, collecting 10 loads of vegetables daily for the temple. He wasn't too concerned about the rules and didn't like being bossed around or bossing others. However, he had to deal with the troublemakers who frequently stole from the garden. The old monk specifically warned him about them, as he could no longer handle the situation. After Lu Zhishen took over, the old monk felt relieved, explaining it wasn't due to his own lack of ability, but to make way for someone more vigorous. Lu Zhishen reassured the old monk, saying he didn't intend to take anyone's job. There was mutual respect and understanding between them. The thieves called out to Lu Zhishen, and he noticed some suspicious characters who seemed to be plotting something. They planned to push him into the manure pit when they brought him gifts, thinking they could control him that way. But Lu Zhishen saw through their trick. When they tried to execute their plan, he acted swiftly. As they approached, Lu Zhishen kicked with his right foot, sending Li Si flying into the pit. Just as Zhang San tried to run, Lu Zhishen's left foot kicked him in two. Both thieves struggled and rolled around in the pit, while their comrades scattered in fear, begging for mercy. Lu Zhishen ordered them to wash up at the well, leaving them humiliated. He called everyone inside to talk. Zhang San and his gang complained about the smell as soon as they stepped in. Zhang San admitted they were worried the new boss would mess with their income, so they wanted to test him. They usually gambled near the garden and stole vegetables to make money. This prank was just to let him know they existed, but they didn't expect him to be so tough. Lu Zhishen scolded them for not knowing who they were dealing with. Lu Zhishen explained that he had killed many people out of a sense of justice, which is why he chose to become a monk, moving from Mount Wutai to here. His family name was Lu, and his monastic name was Zhishen. He said, "Not to say that these 30 or 20 people are nothing, even if it is an army of thousands of horses, I also dare to kill straight into the out." He told them he wouldn't stop them from making a living off the garden, but warned them not to default on their debts. The hooligans were impressed by Lu Zhishen and offered their service to him. He told them to go home for now, saying they'd deal with future matters later. The hooligans brought some food and wine as a gesture of respect for Lu Zhishen. Initially, Lu Zhishen was puzzled by this, but his friends explained that they were deeply inspired by his teachings and wanted to show their appreciation. Although Lu Zhishen, as a monk, wasn't supposed to drink, he was moved by their sincerity and candidly admitted his complicated feelings about alcohol. He mentioned that he had faced difficulties because of drinking in the past, but for the sake of friendship, he decided to break his vow this once. Seeing this, his friends praised his boldness and toasted him, and Lu Zhishen accepted their gesture straightforwardly. Lu Zhishen wasn't one to believe in superstitions. When people talked about the cawing of crows as a sign of impending arguments, he dismissed it, saying he didn't buy into that stuff. He was an alcoholic who only cared about his wine and didn't like any disturbances. Spotting a crow's nest in a tree, he casually suggested pulling the tree out by its roots, shocking everyone around him. Some even thought he was drunk, but Lu Zhishen shrugged it off, saying that uprooting a tree was no big deal, like pulling up a scallion or a garlic bulb. Despite others trying to dissuade him, he insisted on doing it, impressing everyone with his determination. In the end, he actually managed to pull a sturdy willow tree out by its roots, showcasing his incredible strength and earning the admiration of everyone around. People were amazed and praised his martial skills. Someone then asked him to demonstrate his weapon skills, and he cheerfully agreed. One person tried to lift his weapon but was overwhelmed by the weight of the heavy iron staff, falling to the ground in astonishment. Lu Zhishen easily picked up the 62-pound iron staff and swung it around effortlessly. His impressive performance left the crowd in awe, with everyone cheering him on. At that moment, a man claiming to be the drill instructor of 800,000 Imperial Guards appeared. Captivated by Lu Zhishen's martial prowess, he couldn't help but applaud, inadvertently interrupting Lu Zhishen. The instructor felt a bit embarrassed and explained that he was just passing by and was drawn in by the spectacle. Lu Zhishen, with his usual boldness, invited him to come in and spar. The instructor humbly responded, saying his skills were nowhere near Lu Zhishen's level. Lu Zhishen then sparred with the instructor, trading a few moves. After their exchange, Lu Zhishen exclaimed, "Wow, master, master!" Recognizing the instructor's techniques. He asked where the instructor had learned them. It turned out the instructor was named Lin Chong, a descendant of the famous Lin family. Lu Zhishen recalled being a student of Lin Chong's father back in Tokyo and had heard of the family's reputation. He immediately apologized, saying, I'm sorry. Then, he asked everyone to pack up because he wanted to take Lin Chong to a tavern for a drink. Lu Zhishen was delighted to meet the instructor and hoped they could become sworn brothers. Lin Chong responded that he too, influenced by his late father, enjoyed befriending heroes from all over the world and felt honored. They chatted while ordering the best wine from the tavern. Lin Chong mentioned that he had been accompanying his wife to burn incense when he happened to see Lu Zhishen showing off his staff skills and was impressed by his prowess. Suddenly, a servant rushed in to inform Lin Chong that someone was harassing his wife at the willow pavilion. On the street, a woman screamed and struggled, shouting, "Let me go! How dare you harass an innocent woman in broad daylight?" A man tried to approach her, saying flirtatiously, "Just a kiss, don't run." At that moment, a burly man appeared. It was the local drill instructor, Lin Chong. He shouted, "How dare you molest a respectable woman in broad daylight? Do you know what a crime this is?" Lin Chong grabbed the offender, ready to beat him, but then recognized him as the godson of Grand Marshal Gao. He hesitated, not daring to do anything to him. The offender immediately apologized. "Oh, it's the drill instructor. We didn't know she was your wife. Please forgive us, sir." The group quickly scurried away. Lu Zhishen arrived, asking angrily, "Where are they? Why did you let them go?" He was confused by Lin Chong's decision, knowing the man was Grand Marshal Gao's godson and had harassed Lin Chong's wife. Lu Zhishen fumed. "This wasn't a misunderstanding. You should have beaten him to a pulp. How could you let him go just because of Grand Marshal Gao? You are afraid of offending your boss. I don't care who he is. I'm not afraid to get myself in trouble. I'll fucking get those motherfuckers for you." However, Lin Chong explained that he was concerned about repercussions from his superior. Though still angry, Lu Zhishen respected Lin Chong's decision, and everyone dispersed. The offender, obsessed with Lin Chong's wife, dismissed any other women his men suggested. He only wanted Lin Chong's wife. Lately, Lin Chong had been in a bad mood and stayed home. One day, his friend Lu Zhishen came to take him out for a drink to lift his spirits. But Lin Chong only wanted to have a few drinks at home. Lu Zhishen insisted, saying he had something important to discuss, so Lin Chong reluctantly agreed. Lin Chong's wife reminded them to come back early. Later, a neighbor rushed to Lin Chong's wife, saying Lin Chong had passed out drunk. Alarmed, she quickly took some servants to find him. It was a trap set by the offender. He called out, "Lady, lady." Lin Chong's wife was trembling with fear and had nowhere to escape. And then, the horny habitual criminal pounced on Lin Chong's wife.